Good morning. You're watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos. The public viewing of the late former President Benigno Aquino is now underway at the Church of the Jesuit in Ateneo de Manila University. We'll try to get more updates as we move on in the broadcast. But for now, you have business groups also joining the nation in mourning the death of former President Noynoy Aquino, who transformed the Philippines from the sick man of Asia to a rising tiger. Now, the Philippine Stock Exchange recognized Pinoy's policies for the country's turnaround from a high credit risk to an investment grade rating country beginning in 2013. The Makati Business Club also expressed condolences. The club said history will judge President Aquino well because he bettered the lives of Filipinos by improving the economy and combining pro-social policies, modernizing education, and expanding cash transfers. Now, under Pinoy's term, GDP grew at an annual average of 6.2%, then twice exceeded 7%, the fastest since the 70s. GDP peaked at 7.2% in 2013 when the Philippines was the second fastest growing economy in Asia next to China. The Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry recognized Pinoy's anti-corruption drive, saying it led to the steady improvement of FDIs under his leadership. The Ayala Group said they will remember Pinoy as someone who genuinely aspired and worked hard for Filipinos, adding that his legacy of transparent governance will be among his indelible marks in the country's history. The Management Association of the Philippines lauded Aquino's economic legacy, as well as his move to bring China to arbitration. The group said Pinoy generated a new respect for the Philippines on the world stage, as evidenced by the West Philippine Sea arbitral ruling. Now, again, of course, you are seeing clips of what's happening currently at the Jesuit Church at the Ateneo de Manila University, where the urn of the late former President Benigno Aquino has already arrived. We are expecting public viewing to begin by 10 in the morning today. Again, the country is in mourning over the passing of the former president. He was 61. He died, of course, of a renal disease secondary to diabetes. That at least is announced by his sisters last night over at the Heritage Park in Taguig. Again, you are seeing live pictures currently of what's happening over at the Ateneo de Manila University. Now, President Rodrigo Duterte expressed his condolences to the Aquino family and asked the public to set aside differences to pay respects to the former president, whom he described as a leader who gave his best to serve the Filipino people. Duterte, who succeeded Aquino in the presidency, also signed a proclamation declaring 10 days of national mourning over the death of his predecessor. That will run until Saturday, July 3rd. During this time, all flags will be flown at half-staff mast from sunrise to sunset on all government buildings and installations throughout the Philippines and abroad. But for now, the public is given a day to pay their final respects to Aquino, as his wake will be open for final viewing from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. today at the Ateneo de Manila University. Now, we'll try to give All right, this time around, let's have a quick check of what's happening in the equity space here. You can see the index managing to reverse track from that 0.5% decline yesterday. The index is now in the green, up 0.3% to 6,906. Now, again, this is the local shares have been hovering between 6,800 to the 6,900, playing with a 7,000 level from time to time. AB Capital's Land Soledad expects shares to trade still within that range. Same with Dinson Securities as Darren Pangan. They see the BSP's latest move to be the catalyst in today's session. The central bank, of course, kept rates steady for the fifth straight meeting, vowing to provide policy support as long as necessary, given that recovery remains tentative. Again, the BSP held on to the 2% benchmark rate. As widely predicted by analysts, interest rates on overnight deposit and lending facilities also maintained at 1.5 and 2.5% respectively. The BSP also now sees inflation hitting 4% from the previous 3.9% and the ceiling of the BSP's target band of 2 to 4%. The revision comes on the back of higher global crude oil prices and as well as more favorable global growth outlook. Should this be the case, then that would be a faster print than the 2.6% tallied in 2020. Now, for the years to come, though, the BSP maintained its 3% inflation outlook. Following those developments, the peso strengthened by 8% to 48.735 to the dollar. It continues to strengthen at the start of today's session here. As you can see, the peso now at 48.628 to the dollar. Now, just how long will the BSP maintain its record low rates, or is a hike already waiting to happen? To discuss that and the economic legacy of late former President Benigno Aquino III, we have ING's chief economist, Nikki Mapa. Good morning, Nikki.
Hi, Jess. Good morning.
All right.
Thanks
So,
for having me.
first off, we start with the BSP. Well, 5 straight sessions of maintaining rates. How long do you see the pause cycle extending, and how much of a space do we have?
Yeah, so Jess, if you looked at the press release of the governor, saw some of his comments that came out after, it seems that he thinks that the economic recovery will be rather tentative, and citing the prevalence or the still high incidence of COVID-19 here in the country. They also did make a mention of the new variants that are coming in as a possible, I guess, counterweight to some of these good numbers that were coming out for the economy. So if with the possibility that we see new variants come in, more infectious variants, we might be experiencing new waves of this virus, and then that could have direct implications on our economic standing. I just wanted to point out. Some of our neighbors are dealing with a nasty case of this Delta variant. One good example is Indonesia. They had the virus pretty much on tap, with cases falling to those 3,000. Now they're seeing 20,000 infections per day, and that's really going to weigh on their economic outlook. And same thing could happen here if we're not careful.
Now, also, from yesterday, you have the BSP revising upward its inflation outlook to the top of their target. How do you see inflation playing out for the remainder of the year?
Yeah, so just now, inflation's at averaging 4.4% for the first 5 months of the year. We do expect inflation to start to peter out starting this month. June, we expect it to be lower than the 4.5% reading that we saw for the past 3 months, and then back possibly within target as early as July, and then gradually slow back within target. However, the fall in inflation or the deceleration in inflation won't be very substantial to get it below 3%, but it will be back within target. I think BSP did cite the increase in global crude oil prices as one of the main reasons for that upward revision from 3.9 to 4%, but it's still within target, and I think this gives BSP a lot of space to keep its accommodation for now.
Now, the central bank is also quite confident that we can weather a possible earlier rate hike by the Fed. How much of a buffer do we really have?
I mean, yeah, we have a lot of defenses up and ready. Our gross international reserves are at record highs, pretty much indicating that we have the ability to deal with a possible run on the currency. Secondly, the Fed rate hike is still roughly about a year and a half or 2 years away. This gives us a little more time to give the economy some leg up as we get out of this economic slump that we're experiencing. So yeah, with the Fed rate, a year and a half, 2 years away, no rush for the Philippines to start hiking rates right now.
Okay, let me shift the discussion over, of course, to still the day's big news, the passing of former President Noynoy Aquino. The presidency was far from perfect, but for what it's worth, he left an indelible mark when it comes to growth. What for you was the greatest economic legacy of the former president?
Well, first things first, our heartfelt condolences to the Aquino family. And yes, it's always sad to lose a former president, any day. So, but in terms of his economic legacy, we can really say that it was one that we can always remember. He did bring us our first investment grade rating that we hold on to today. This was also when we saw the growth spurt for the Philippines, and it wasn't just a pop and a fizzle out. It was a real robust and consistent growth trajectory that he provided for the Philippines. Several factors for this. Some people point to the Matuwid, as well as other reforms that he put in place to get the budget under control. And this definitely gave a good signal to foreign investors for the Philippines. This is when we saw the foreign investors come in. This is when our growth trajectory really started to pick up the pace and really leaving the foundations for what we see today. Right before the pandemic, we were doing quite well. And of course, a lot of that has to do with some of the groundwork and foundations that we saw laid out by the former president, the late Noynoy Aquino.
And how much of his presidency also, in a way, strengthened various sectors here? We're talking about economic pillars here, OFW remittances, as well as the BPO sector.
Yeah, it's interesting to note there was an article that came out back in 2016 quoting the current NEDA chair, Carl Kendrick Chua, citing several factors that Noynoy Aquino brought to the table that have laid the foundation for this, citing the conditional cash transfer as one of the main things that he's helped bring a more equitable distribution to growth. Remittances also continued to come in a big way. His work with the BSP, with the late Governor Espanilla, also helping bring down remittance fees and charges to make it more palatable for OFWs to send home remittances through formal channels. So many things we can cite as his legacy to bring lasting growth to the Philippines, and we're still enjoying the benefits of those reforms today.
Okay, but at the same time, Nikki, his government has been criticized as well for being frugal. When asked about it yesterday during our broadcast, his former our commissioner, Kim Menares, said it wasn't so much underspending, but prudent spending given a low absorptive capacity. On hindsight, was there wisdom to keeping fiscal deficit low?
Well, yeah, back then we were still trying to get the attention of foreign investors and get that credit rating up. But now that we have the credit rating at a very sterling level, well into investment grade, I think it's about time that we start to see some of the fiscal authorities wield that power, to use that fiscal space that we've built up for all these years. Back then, maybe not enough space for the fiscal authorities to really chug in the spending because they were just building our credibility. But now that we have that credibility in hand, maybe it's about time we use it.
So at least during that period, it was more about building that credibility. Now it's time to utilize that. Now,
yes.
Let's move forward, of course, to the current setting here. At the rate things are going, you have mobility curves already easing. At the same time, more vaccines are arriving and being dispersed. What level of growth do you see now for the Philippines in 2021?
Yeah, I'm still one of the more not as optimistic analysts out there. The main reason is that consumer confidence remains shot, even if we are starting to see some of the caseloads come down and vaccines coming in. The job market continues to be very challenging. Unemployment is still much higher than what we saw prior to the pandemic. So when people don't have jobs, they don't have incomes, they won't be spending. At the same time, several of our households definitely dipped into their savings over the past month and a year and a half, and therefore they'll likely build up that savings before they start to splurge on discretionary spending. All those staycations and vacations that people used to be taking, that time in the mall, won't be coming back anytime soon. Unless we have that type of pace of growth, we're not going to return to that 6% growth handle that we were so used to during the Aquino and the first part of the Duterte administration.
Okay, so given that, what at least is your projection now for full year growth?
Full year GDP way below the government's 67% target. I expect it to fall to about 4.6, 4.7%. Mainly on the back of still lackadaisical consumer spending as well as negative bank lending pointing to weak capital formation.
All right. Thank you very much for your insights and for your time this morning. Again, ING Bank Chief Economist Nikki Mapa. Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, Jess. Stay safe.
Right now, the public again is given a day to pay their final respects to the late former President Benigno Aquino III. His wake will be open for final viewing from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. today at the Ateneo de Manila University. Now, to give us the latest updates from the ground, we have Maricel Halili reporting live from Quezon City. Good morning, Mase. We
Hi,
saw
good morning,
pictures.
sir.
Yes, we saw pictures from earlier today, and there was already a small crowd gathering since gates are opening soon. How many people would you say are waiting to go inside for the public viewing?
Well, there's a lot of people. I'll show you the wait a minute. Okay, so this is the Church of the Jesuit. As you can see, there's a lot of people inside. Most of them are the family of former President Noynoy Aquino. At around 9:30 this morning, the urn of former President Noynoy Aquino was brought here at the Church of the Jesuit. With the Aquino sisters. Earlier, we saw uh, Pinoy's sisters, including Chris, Pinky, Viel, and well, it was confirmed to us one of the staff of former President Noynoy Aquino that Volsi was also here. We also saw earlier Pinoy's nephews and nieces, Joshua and Bimbi, are also here, as well as the former cabinet secretaries of Pinoy. Earlier, we were able to talk to former Energy Secretary Almendras, and he said that the former president has been suffering for the disease for about 2 years now. His going in and out of the hospital. So it doesn't really came as a surprise to some of his closest friends, but still they were saddened for what happened. As early as 7 o'clock this morning, we saw a lot of people lining up for the public viewing. Um, I will show you the some of the supporters of former President Noynoy Aquino who are now here at Church of the Jesu to visit his urn. Before they can go inside, have to fill up health declaration forms to ensure that they don't have any symptoms, and of course they are practicing social distancing. Uh, Earlier today, I was able to check the queuing outside, or the queue outside the Ateneo de Manila University. And as early as 7 a.m., the queue was up until the front of Tia's Bank along Katipunan from Gate 3 of Ateneo de Manila University. So a lot of people are still here to pay their last respects to former President Aquino. And also, I will show you the wreath or the flowers given by by President Rodrigo Duterte. I cannot cross the out, I'm sorry, but there is the flower given by President Duterte from here at the Church of Jesu. And also, just we also saw former Senator Bam Aquino. Jeff?
Mhm. Now, Mashe, just for the sake of those who are at least interested to go
Sorry,
there,
it's quite noisy here. They're playing music.
I do understand, of course. At least if you can hear me, for the sake of those who are interested to go there over at Ateneo, how many people are they letting in at a time for the public viewing?
Oh, there's no particular number, but they just have to make sure that they don't have any symptoms. And we asked actually the former spokesperson of Pinoy, Yusek Abigail Valte, how long will they allow the viewers to stay inside. As per Yusek Valte, they will just allow them to get in, check the urn, and then get out right away. So their estimate is they will just allow per individual about 30 seconds to view the urn, and they will ask them to leave the place to give way to other individuals who would like to pay their last respect.
All right. Thank you very much for those updates. Do keep us posted. Again, Maricel Halili reporting live from Quezon City. And that's the first look into the business day this Friday, June 25, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.